portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
An unusual sight on the East-West Highway this morning when Deputy Director at the Ministry of Education, Makita Gibson, was driving around 10 when other motorists started beckoning to him and he couldn't figure out why. They were warning him that his 1996 Nissan Sunny was on fire.
It was actually quite shocking. I was driving along and I noticed cars were beckoning at me, telling me to slow down. And I smelled flames, or smoke. I smelled smoke, but I thought it was coming from the area. Not until I saw the cars beckoning to me did I realize that it was coming from my own car. And so I tried to stop, but the car would not stop. The brakes seemed to be completely gone. So I pulled up on the side, which seemed to break the speed, and hopped out. And then the car was completely engulfed in flames.
So you got out just in the nick of time?
Literally, just in the nick of time. God is good.
Gibson escaped unharmed, but he admits his insured 1996 Sunny was good to him all these years. Coincidentally, he says he was on his way to Sampin Motors to check out a new car. Today, though, his Sunny had run its course. 50 years ago, the winds of change took flight with the opposition Progressive Liberal Party tossing the symbol of authority of the House of Assembly out of the window of the lower chamber of Parliament.
Lon Aubrey spoke with longtime PLP supporter Effie Walks on what is now referred to as Black Tuesday, April 27th, 1965.
It fall right out the window, right on the ground.
That's how 91-year-old Effie Walks describes Black Tuesday's defiant act. She, along with hundreds of PLPs, marched from Windsor Park to Bay Street to protest the unfair and discriminatory policies of the governing United Bahamian Party. The protest began in earnest after the 1962 general election, when the opposition PLP won the popular vote, but only 8 of 29 seats in the House of Assembly. PLP leader Lyndon Pindling orchestrated the throwing of the mace out of the window of the House.
The eastern window. It came out the eastern window.
It shattered?
It shattered. It shattered.
What the people did?
Or they started screaming and clapping.
The PLP's Milo Butler also threw the hourglass down to the crowd of PLPs outside. Walk says that act galvanized PLPs in their determination to make majority rule a reality. That came in 1967 when the PLP became the government. She strongly believes that Black Tuesday is as important as majority rule and independence in 1973.
Majority rule couldn't come unless it was Black Tuesday, and independent couldn't come unless it was majority rule. So therefore, it is 3 segments, and how could you use 2 segments and leave one out? The main one, which is Black Tuesday.
And I am Vaughn Aubrey, ZNS Network News.
Now, in observance of the 50th anniversary of Black Tuesday, Bahamians are invited to hear more about that historic event at 7:30 tonight in Rawson Square. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, and the Honorable Glenys Hanna Martin will reflect on the legacy of Sir Lyndon Pindling, Sir Milo Butler, Sir Cecil, and the others who made this day historic.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain. May 20th is the date for the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation's annual general meeting. This is when members will elect new officers and directors for the 2015-2016 administrative year. Other agenda items include confirmation of a quorum of voting members, minutes of the 2014 annual general meeting, financial and chairman report. The venue for the meeting will be announced at a later date. In other business news, New York will be the next stop for the Invest Grand Bahama Promotional Unit at the Grand Bahama Port Authority. This as the team prepares to promote the benefits of doing business in Freeport at the 2015 International Franchise Expo in June. Owner of the Freeport Decorators, Eli Stevens, will accompany the team. The GBPA licensee won the trip at a raffle during the port's customer service training workshop. And in international business news, the world's most valuable company is now the largest dividend payer in the Standard & Poor's 500 after boosting its dividend by 11% Monday. Senior index analyst at the Standard & Poor's Dow Jones Indices, Howard Silverblatt, says with an annual payout of $12 billion, Apple knocked all giant ExxonMobil, which pays $11.6 billion, to the number 2 spot. However, Apple's tenure at the top of the heap may be short-lived as ExxonMobil readies a potential dividend hike on or before Thursday. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain.
It's shaping up to be one of the largest displays of culture and youth in the country, and it takes place this Friday evening at the Cultural Village, Western Esplanade.
If you haven't heard yet, Youth Culture Fest will see over 1,000 youth participating in cultural events, parades, performances, and of course the highlight of the festival, indigenous costumes. The event is another product of the Bahamas National Festival Commission. We get that story from Clint Watson.
It's going to be an explosion of Bahamian culture like never before.
The Bahamas is only days away from the first of its kind, Youth Culture Fest. And at a time when the attention is on Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival and the World Relays, youth workers want to make sure youth in the country aren't overlooked or left out of the focus on culture. On Friday, some 24 organizations, including schools, community groups, urban renewal centers, and others, will invade the Cultural Village, Western Esplanade, in an explosion of culture. According to one of the organizers, Pastor Henry Higgins, they'll parade from the top of the fort, around the fish fry, and along the Western Esplanade twice.
All the groups are ready. I've had a chance to visit some of them already. I see wonderful costumes. I've seen so many costumes sitting right in front of us. There's so many Bahamian costumes this morning. And the exciting thing about this parade is the parade is free. You don't have to pay to come and see it. It's free. And also, the other thing about this parade is it's not a competition.
This promised to be something of a breath of fresh air that the Bahamas has been waiting on, to see their culture expressed and exposed, and people being proud of their culture, who they are.
In fact, instead of groups picking numbers to compete, they selected islands to represent with their costumes and banners. Youth group leaders are excited and more than prepared to put on a cultural show visitors and residents won't forget. Sergeant Kendrick Brown says Fort Charlotte Urban Renewal will represent the island of Acklands.
So part of our banner will be a tribute to King Eric Gibson, and all that will be portrayed in the banner. Our parade will be shared up in 3 pieces. We have the water. We have costume portraying our beautiful tranquil waters. Also, we have a costume that we portray in the Kings. Also, Acklands is also known for sailing. So we also have some big, strong, strapping young men coming out with sailing costumes.
CEO of Bahamas National Festival Commission Roscoe Dame says he's extremely excited that they made this investment in the youth.
And through our team at the Secretariat, we're able to put together a world-class event in a world-class setting at the Cultural Village, Arwaki and Western Esplanade. You may see a lot of structures actually going up there. We have temporary and permanent fencing, but we also have some structures that are being built so that we can turn the Cultural Village into a more permanent place for us to display our art, culture, and our music.
We're just really excited to be a part of the show, and definitely we promise to give you something that you've never experienced before.
Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Clearly there's a lot going on.
Yes.
There's the youth, the World Relays, Carnival, everything. Now talking about the World Relays. Last night we told you a little bit about BTC's involvement in the IAAF World Relays coming up.
And tonight Charles Fisher takes a look at how employees at the mega resort Atlantis will be assisting.
Australia, one of the first teams to arrive, and went through a smooth checking-in process with IAAF volunteers in place. Ed Fields, Vice President Public Affairs at Atlantis, says this is a norm for them as they are used to hosting major events.
We're very capable of handling this. We've got about close to 1,000 rooms. That, again, this is a 4,000 room facility. So, and they're spread over the Royal Beach and Coral. And obviously we're going to set up to feed them in the Imperial Ballroom. So we're looking at feeding around about, just a lot of people. But we do it. We do it all the time. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Atlantis, not the typical games village athletes are accustomed to. It's a 5-star resort.
They were here last year, as you know, and they enjoyed the facilities, but many of them wanted to come over and enjoy the facilities at Atlantis. And so, this is a way that they can do all of that at once. So those who have finished doing what they have to do can kind of unwind and relax and take out the beach and the slides and all that type of stuff. So I think we're going to have a good time with them. And, low key. So everyone's going to do their thing. And obviously we'll have to do work on the transport piece, and which I'm sure we're doing with the IAAF team. And we'll get the athletes here in time and run those races. And hopefully they'll be a little happier because they stayed at Atlantis. Listen, we built our brand up over 20 years. We have, on a regular basis, celebrities coming here and staying. And you know who are celebrities on a normal basis? Our guests. Our guests are our celebrities. They come here every day, all throughout the year, and we serve them as best as we can. And they're the ones who go back and tell people, hey, this is a great place to stay. So we're going to treat our athletes, or the athletes, just as good as we treat our guests, and hopefully they'll have a very positive experience.
And feels there is a slight advantage for these athletes while performing here in the 242.
I still think that someone's going to come up and say that those records, they got to take them out because that Junkanoo music can't be legal. The cadence, I guess, can't be legal. So maybe we'll see some more records this year. And you got your main man. So I'm sure we're going to see a great event.
Security, as usual, will be strictly enforced on the premises. For the ZNS News Network, I'm Charles Fisher.
All right, Fisher, thanks a lot. Now, this week will be filled with athlete arrivals as the IAAF BTC World Relay Championships come underway. Right now, there are just 3 more days to go. Keish Ladley is live tonight from the track where it's clearly somewhat a hive of activity. Keishla.
Hey there, Chris and Charisma. Well, it's all about the numbers tonight. Just 4 days to go now before the IAAF BTC World Relays right here at the Thomas A. Robinson Track and Field Stadium. And I'm so excited. And here's a new development. We didn't see this yesterday. Just take a look around about half of the perimeter of the track. All of the sponsors lining the track. Another sign that the time is drawing near. BTC, of course, the title sponsor, Adidas, TDK, Seiko, the IAAF organization, the Islands of the Bahamas, and the list goes on and on. All of those entities looking for the exposure that these second world relays will bring. And speaking of exposure, the media began arriving today, and there are lots of organizations who are eager to provide coverage for these games. 107 media entities in all approved. That includes press writers, photographers, and the list goes on. 87 of them are from countries outside the Bahamas. 27 represent local agencies, with the Broadcasting Corporation, ZNS, of course, heading the list. We have media agencies from as close to us as the United States, Jamaica, and the Cayman, and as far afield as Ireland, Nigeria, Canada, and so many more. So obviously, no end to the exposure that these games will bring. And of course, the Bahamas being a destination looking to piggyback on that exposure as well. So the time is drawing near, just 4 days now. And about those sprints I was supposed to bring yesterday, well, we won't find out my time in the 400 meters tonight. Perhaps by Friday I'll be ready. So I'll get back to you on that. Chris and Charisma, back to you.
All right, Keish, thanks a lot. They're talking about the sprints and running. Running? The only thing I do is run my mouth and run a fork to my mouth.
Well, I'm sure she can do a good job.
She probably could beat both of us. Well,
not me. Maybe you. Family Island News is next.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This week, the HMBS Raleigh Gray is expected to be commissioned in Exuma at the Emerald Isle Marina, but some residents spoke out about that, saying they felt it should have been in Elizabeth Harbor. Chief Counselor Leonard Dames Jr. addressed this.
As was stated earlier, we would have loved for the dedication and the commissioning of the Raleigh Gray vessel to be done here in Elizabeth Harbor, but because of the logistics and because of the technical advice we received from the Defense Force, we can now appreciate and understand why it has to be done at the Emerald Bay where there's deeper water. Then too, coming out of our 62nd annual regatta, it would have been sort of hectic because persons are now just starting to break down their stalls and then a lot of wood and nails, and it really wouldn't have been appropriate at this particular time. We now knows and could fully understand and appreciate the reason why we have to have it done at the Emerald Bay site.